Welcome to the Lila Life Show. I'm your host, Linda Andrews, founder, CEO of Lila Life and host of the Lila Life Show. We have special guest Chad Carpenter with me today. He is the Chief Zen Officer of Soul Space Yoga and a friend of mine. And if you're local to the West Palm Beach community or visiting, we would love to invite you to Soul Space Yoga. Chad, welcome to the show today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so grateful to be here.
Yeah, super pumped. We're going to talk about all things wellness and yoga and your journey. So we're going to dive in with like your origin story and what brought you to today being Chief Zen Officer of Soul Space. So wherever you want to
Sure.
start, the joke is
Yeah.
like, well, it was my birth date at 8 p.m. and I was
Yeah.
born. No.
Yeah. No, it's always great to start at the beginning, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, no, I mean, I grew up in Palm Beach County, fourth generation, actually on my mom's side. Grew up in a construction family, little bit of a dysfunctional home, so I grew up with a lot of anger issues. Both my parents drank quite a bit, so they were, into that whole scene. And I was the youngest, so my brother kind of dumped a lot of his stuff on me, and I kind of just was always lashing out as a child. Was very disruptive. Couldn't really be engaged in school. I struggled with bad ADHD. I would go to read a book in school and get like a page in. My mind would start wandering for 15, 20 minutes. I would come back and had read however many pages and had no idea what I read. So, in the yogic sciences, we refer to that as the monkey mind, and I've got about as bad as it gets. And was very big into sports growing up. That was one of my outlets, especially football. That was always my favorite. I love to play defense just because I could hit people. Um, and yeah, I got my first ACL injury when I was 13 playing prep football. So I had a complete ACL replacement and then ended up tearing my other ACL on my left side when I was about 16, 17, and then tore my right for the second time when I was about 19 or 20. So I had three complete ACL replacements. And that was kind of what brought me to not such a great quality of life physically,
Mhm.
just because you know the imbalances of walking on crutches and things like that kind of start to catch up to you. So I had a lot of bad lower back, hip, knee pain, um, you know coming out of recovery of those surgeries. And I basically had a choice. My surgeon told me the second time that he had done my right knee, I had to spend the first like 45 minutes of the surgery just digging out arthritis. So he
Wow.
just told me, just live as least active of a lifestyle as possible, as low impact as possible. And for a ADHD hyperactive kid that, whose only outlet was sports, that was hard to hear. And I basically had a choice of just medicating the symptoms, which I had gone down a path with addiction to prescription pills. So decided I wasn't going to go back down that road or do something proactive. And when I started doing a lot of research, I found that yoga was, one of the best things that you can do for long-term, mobility and just overall physical wellness. Found a Bikram yoga studio in West Palm, which is the really hot yoga. They do it in a room that's like 106 to 108 degrees, and was just instantly hooked, just because I felt so amazing. Started taking 3 or 4 classes a week, and my quality of life physically just skyrocketed, like I didn't really think it ever would. So I was really amazed at that. And then started noticing, changes in my mood. I'm not as triggered, as angry as often. My relationships had improved. I was able to perform better at work. And, I think that's, when you realize the full spectrum of, a consistent yoga practice, right? It's the things that it offers you, just as much physically, mentally as well, right? Because we're going through this practice where we're constantly putting our body through these physical stressors in these weird postures, holding that posture and then learning to use our breath to calm ourselves and create a sense of ease through that stress, right? And that's where we can build up, these good habits of using this tool of the breath, to carry us through other stressful situations. I had always wanted to mentor youth, since I was a youth myself.
Mhm.
Didn't really know why. I always just envisioned myself speaking to auditoriums of children, which I
Oh,
certainly hope I get to do one day. And early into adulthood, was getting frustrated because that wasn't happening for me. I was just working in my family's construction business, just because I didn't really have anything else going on. And when I started feeling, the profound impacts of my own yoga and meditation practice, it was kind of just like, this is how I can serve people. This is how I can serve youth that don't have access to these types of tools on a day-to-day basis, and just try to share with people what it did for me. So that's pretty much, got certified about 4 years ago, and been working with anyone that will take me pretty much ever since then. So yeah, that's, and then have now stepped into transformational breath work. Being a transformational breathwork coach which is a incredibly profound practice. I know we'll get into that, but yeah, it's certainly just, I get to wake up every day and serve people, and that's truly who I am. It's what I do. It's the only thing that fills my cup. So I'm, very grateful that that's what I get to do every day.
so beautiful. And from the time that you started yoga to becoming certified, like how much time was in that? What was the turnaround time?
I would say on and off for maybe 5 years. Yeah,
Okay.
because I probably did Bikram consistently for 2 or 3 years. I ended up living out of the country for about a year, came back, started Bikram again, and then kind of wanted a change after several months of that. Found a Vinyasa practice, and then in the Vinyasa practices, they get into a lot of the deeper spiritual side of it. And then I was like, whoa, well, like, what is she talking about? So yeah, I would say 5 or 6 years of practicing before I got certified.
Really beautiful. And speaking to like the kids and the youth, what have you seen and what were you intuiting as the biggest impacts to youth with these modalities affecting them in what I would say an empowering way?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just, giving our youth tools to deal with everything that's going on around them and all the pressures, that are on them, especially those that live in, underserved, more violent communities. They go through a lot. And in the schools, they don't teach, they're not teaching kids what to do when you start to feel stressed and you start hyperventilating. You have someone screaming at you. Usually that just ends, unfortunately, in violence. So giving kids, tools, to show them, when you feel stressed out, you feel your heart start pounding, it's hard for you to breathe, you can take a seat, just practice breath awareness, just breathe, take a few deep breaths, right? Envision yourself doing something you love. I love doing like gratitude meditations and meditations, where I just guide people through envisioning them doing their favorite thing. I call it the favorite thing meditation.
Mm.
And let them go through, mentally doing their favorite thing after being stressed out about something, and then coming out of that and realizing how much better they feel, and then showing them, like, I didn't touch you, I didn't do anything, you did that for yourself, you have
Mm.
that power every day. So empowering kids with these tools, that they can use in their day-to-day life. I've definitely seen it impact a few kids. I work with small groups of kids over a long period of time, which I much prefer to do,
Mhm.
because hopefully then they can go out and it just grows. But yeah, I've definitely seen a shift, and they're really grateful, for taking the time, because a lot of people don't, right? They just want to keep them out of trouble, which is obviously necessary, but not giving them things that they can do, to
Mhm.
deal with their own stuff.
Yeah, and it's so interesting. So many times the parents aren't equipped with these tools to teach the tools. The kids are learning the tools and inadvertently training the parents And, it's like, who do you help first, the kids or the parents? Probably both. But certainly with the kids, it's like you kind of get the parents too, because the kids are
Yeah.
doing things differently. And now the parents are like, whoa,
Uh-huh.
what happened to you?
Yeah.
And maybe kids don't like to listen to their parents sometimes at some ages.
Sure. Yeah, and like for me, it's like whoever is the most willing and looking for a
Mm.
change,
Mhm.
whoever's, sick of the sickness, right? They're yearning for something different. They're yearning to go beyond, their current circumstance. That's who I want to work with, whether they're a parent, a youth, whichever.
Beautiful. And speaking of breath awareness, I know to dive even deeper in our episode today, we're going to do a little breath work. If you want to lead us through some breath awareness to sink even deeper
Absolutely.
in today's show. So if you aren't driving, please join us. And if you are driving, I don't know, should they fast forward this part or will they be able to do
Yeah.
it driving?
I would say so. I mean, I'll have everyone close their eyes so they can't close their eyes, and it won't be as impactful because they'll have to be focusing on things around them. But
Mhm.
yeah, we won't do any like super active breath work.
Yeah,
So
this will be about two
perfectly safe.
minutes. You're
Yeah.
you're good. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Turning it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So wherever you are, if you just want to take a moment to get just a little more comfortable, so whether you're sitting, if you want to lay down, you're welcome to lay down. Take a moment if you want to kind of rock side to side, maybe shrug the shoulders a few times, take some circles with the head, just any movement to get like 10% more comfortable where you are. And then once you've found that comfortable center point, you can just allow the eyes to close. Let's take a big shoulder shrug through the breath. So as you inhale, squeeze your shoulders up to your ears, really squeeze them up. Exhale, just let them roll down and back. And then with eyes closed, just start to notice the breath. Not really changing or modifying anything in the breath or worrying that you're doing anything wrong. Just take a few moments right now to notice. Maybe bring a hand over the belly, maybe a hand over the heart, or two hands over the belly. Try to feel as you inhale through the nose, the lower belly filling first, then air lifting, expanding up through the upper belly. Feel the ribs expand, then the chest, shoulders expand, everything lifts. And then feel the adverse as you exhale, shoulders, chest, deflate first, ribs, deflate upper belly, and then finally lower belly. Just noticing with each inhale, this nourishing, lengthening, expanding sensation all throughout the torso. And then through your exhale, just feel this grounding, melting, releasing sensation. Just bringing your entire focus, all of your mind's awareness into feeling that flow, that movement that's created by the breath. Just allowing that focus of your breath to start to shift your awareness inward. So, moving the mind's activity away from whatever's going on around you, both physically and in your day to day life, and really just focusing on your body to just notice non judgmentally how you're feeling. Maybe notice any areas that feel a little different than usual. Maybe take a gentle scan, starting with the feet, just noticing the feet. Inhale, feel air pulling even down into the feet. And then move your awareness up into the legs, just noticing the legs as you inhale, feel that air filling throughout the legs. As you exhale, feel it, that energy is just swirling around. And maybe noticing the hips, bring the awareness up into the hips. We hold a lot of tension there, a lot of things always going on in the hip area. Deep inhale, feel that air really filling that space. And then bring your awareness into your chest and shoulders, just noticing the chest and the shoulders. As you inhale, feel air nourishing that space. And then finally, just noticing the head, your beautiful, beautiful head, just feeling, just noticing. And then just feeling the sense of ease, calm that's now permeating throughout the body. Maybe notice how your breathing has maybe slowed down. Maybe notice if your heart rate has slowed down a little bit. Maybe you're feeling this gentle shift away from the active state and into the more rest, digesting state. And then whenever you're ready, you can allow the eyes to gently flutter back open. And just notice how you feel, feeling this sense of awareness of the present moment and less worrying or concern about whatever responsibilities you have later in the day or over the weekend.
Thank you
Just
so
noticing.
much.
You're so welcome. I wasn't expecting to do the body scan, but I love to do that so much. And usually I'll take more time. I'll do like just the feet, then the calves, then the thighs. That's always been really powerful for me. I usually do that once or twice, and then I'm deep in usually a meditative state. So that's a really cool meditation, especially if you're trying to go to sleep. For anyone that struggles with sleeping, doing body scans where you're just focusing on different parts of the body. You can start with your head, even the smallest parts, right? Your eyebrow, your eyeball, the tip of your nose, your left nostril, your right nostril. Just take a few breaths, noticing each part. I often fall asleep doing that. It's a really, really great way to kind of let the mind stop all the chatter that we usually keeps us up.
Yeah, and that mind chatter, the work that you just took us through there, thank you. What do you see that relationship with that all and the nervous system?
Oh yeah. Well, every like our nervous system is connected to everything, to every part of our body. It's impacting every other system in the body. And our breath is our number one way of regulating our nervous system. That's, our breath is there to exchange gases, and it's there to process energy and regulate our nervous system. Those are the three main functions. And it's pretty. I usually encourage people to just try it out for themselves, right? If they anytime that like based off of what you need. If you're feeling really tired,
Mhm.
like you're falling asleep, but you have to be getting things done, to take some active breaths, breathe in and out through the mouth, just really deeply. It doesn't have to be super fast, just really deeply. And then on the adverse, if like at night you need to really kind of reset, let the chatter stop, find those slow deep breaths in and out through the nose. um, you can do a lot of great things. Like humming is a great thing, because we have this nerve called the vagus nerve that runs through our larynx, and it like spreads out throughout our internal organs. And anytime you do a hum, it's like giving that vagus nerve a little massage, because it runs right through our larynx. Like if you take a moment and bring your hand over your chest and close the eyes if you want, and just hum. You feel
Mm.
that vibration in your chest, right? So you're
Yeah.
sending that vibration through your vagus nerve and throughout your lungs. So anytime you do it, it's like giving all your organs a massage. And if anytime you get a massage, it's very relaxing. Well, it's the same thing for your internal organs, for your lungs, and
Your new
in turn the rest.
self-massage.
Exactly,
I'm
exactly.
laughing. I drive a little, it's like a Vespa. It's not a Vespa, but I have a little scooter. Okay. And I like to go set up my work day at the beach in the morning. And I've been doing that every day. So it's been pretty game changing. But on the way home, I noticed that the hum of the scooter is humming. And so today, I'm no joke, humming the whole drive home. And I'm like, this is my
Yeah.
vagus nerve exercise. So I
Oh
love
my
that
gosh, I love it.
I would just like, because I love doing, it's like net time, no extra time. So what can you have double up? And so I'm like, oh, I can ride the scooter home and hum for 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, too
awesome.
much. Well, I want to segue into breath work, but I also just want to touch for a moment. You went through some pretty radical healing and recovery, and I'm sure that opened up to so much of your like own inner scape. But like through those different surgeries, you're explaining with the knee surgeries, were you like conscious of the level of trauma and like the unrest that was evolving? Like how was going through that experience and then dealing with hard emotions, I'm sure at first not having necessarily the tools to deal with them. Like, how was that process and that unfolding for you? And like, what were those little clues or pings that were starting to show you glimpses of possibility that has guided your life now?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say I definitely probably wasn't aware of much of anything except for the physical pain.
Mm,
And that's because, I smoked weed every day, I drank a lot, so I was numbing my faculties, right?
mm,
And it wasn't until I found a consistent yoga practice that I was given awareness of much of anything beyond, like, the immediate right now, whatever's going on. And that's the beautiful thing about any type of these modalities where we're bringing our awareness inward, right? Whether we're practicing yoga, we're meditating, we're doing breath work, these are internalization processes, right? So we're intentionally turning, our mind from everything that's going on around us, everything we see, hear, smell, taste, and touch, constantly grasping at everything and bringing that to one single pointed focus. And that alone can just provide incredible awareness as far as, am I yelling right now in this
mm.
situation? Is this situation getting to me? It's like it allows you to observe the moment without like being so like gripping into it. So yeah, I mean, I would say, you know, definitely noticing the changes in my relationships through after years of practicing yoga was kind of just like, because I was always an inherently angry person.
Mm,
So just seeing those shifts and how I converse with people. Like my older brother always knew how to trigger me.
mm.
Um, and he just can't do it anymore. I'll laugh at him now. But because I was so, just I don't even know what you call it, just
In it.
unaware. Yeah, in it. Yeah,
Mhm.
for sure.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Let's segue into the breath work here. So you're doing this yoga training. You at some point come to find transformational breath. Like, what was that process for you? What I'm assuming is like a deepening of your own practice, but how did that land for you?
Yeah, so I definitely noticed in my own yoga practice and teaching how crucial moving with the breath is. So
Mm,
anytime you're reaching, lengthening, expanding, that's on an inhale, right? Because that's
mm,
what our body is naturally doing. It's being filled and expanded with air. So you want to work with that, right? And on the adverse, anytime you're twisting or crunching or compressing, you want to do that through an exhale, right? Because again, your body's naturally deflating, right? So you're working with that natural rhythm. And I just noticed that once I could, pair the movement with my breath, it just made everything so much easier,
mm.
and just more manageable, right? Because anyone that's done, a challenging yoga practice, at first you're just like, what? Like, your body's just like, excuse me, you want me to do what? You're just trying to keep up. And for me, it's like that first hurdle is once you can pair the movement with the breath, that's when it can really just start to become a lot more effortless and much easier. So definitely through my yoga practice, I discovered like how powerful breath work is. A few years back I had done like a Wim Hof method where you do the active breathing for like 45 minutes. You do some warming exercises, and then you do the cold plunge, which for me, I'm a Florida boy, I do not do cold.
Mhm.
As soon as I got in that water and the water filled up to here, I felt my lungs just do this, and I just
Mm.
started hyperventilating, and I was like, I
Wow.
can't do it, I can't do it. I'm grateful I had a very awesome facilitator. He just sat down across from me. He's like, look at me, deep inhale, half exhale. You calm me down, put your hands in your armpits, feel the warmth on your chest. And I was able to stay in the bath for like 3 minutes.
Wow.
And when literally in the first 5 seconds, I was like, there's no way I can do this. So through that, I definitely discovered, how powerful, breath work can be. And to be honest, I found, I found transformational breath work with the organization that I did the certification with through an Instagram ad, believe it or not.
Okay.
I hate saying it, but
Here's
it's
that
2023.
targeting.
I mean, what are you gonna do? They got me, and I'm so glad they did, to be honest. I when you're Breath Masters is the name of the organization. There's
Okay.
several out there that that do it. They're definitely a very professional, well-known organization. I would definitely check them out. They're out of Bali.
Cool.
I did the whole training online, and when you reach out to them about doing the training, they send you a recording of guiding you through a transformational breathwork session. And I must have like missed like an intro video or the what to expect portion, because when the physical sensations started to happen for me, I was just like, what is going on? You get this, and this really profound buzzing, this pulsing, you get the tetany where your hands are cramping. And I kind of started to panic a little bit. Gratefully, I just told myself I'm fine and just listened in the headphones to the facilitator. But basically, immediately after experiencing that, because I had such a profound emotional release, I wailed, crying for like 15 minutes,
Wow.
completely uncontrollably, like I never had in my entire life. And that was followed by probably about a 5-minute laughing fit. And it was just so profound for me that immediately after I experienced it, I was like, this is a way that I've been looking to serve people in a more profound way. So that was basically how I found them. So I guess just getting into how does the breath do that for us, right? So just like our body beats our heart to pump blood through our system, and just how we digest food, uses nutrients to survive, so too do we breathe, right? And we breathe completely unconsciously, even while we sleep, and thank goodness too that our body just does that for us. But
I'm
autonomous doesn't always,
alive.
yeah, right? So our bodies do so many incredible things. My body blows my mind every day. I have no idea how it does it. I'm just so grateful it does. Um, but autonomous doesn't always mean optimal, right? And how we breathe has an incredible impact on our nervous system and our overall health. And this is why the respiratory system is the only system in the body that is both autonomous, so it just works on its own, yet we're also able to control and manipulate it. And that's because it has such a profound impact on every other aspect of the body. So our breath functions to facilitate, like I said, exchange of gases, and then also as a mechanism for processing energy, right? So we understand that essentially everything in this existence is energy, right? Like that's the one thing, if modern physics has like, we know this is legit for sure, 100%, it's that everything is energy, which means we are too, right? And so too our emotions, our feelings, it's all exists energetically, right? And our mind is constantly generating emotions about everything we hear, see, smell, taste, and touch, even if it's just the slightest feeling, right? Every single thing we come across, we think to some degree it's good, bad, beautiful, ugly, incredible, wretched, whatever it is, right? And the thing is that, feelings and emotions aren't psychological, they're physiological, right? It's something that exists in the physical body. And that's really evident too, if you think about it, right? When you get anxious, we feel it, right? You feel that pressure in your chest. When you get nervous, you feel that pit in your stomach. What you are feeling is literally what you're feeling, and the emotions you're producing is literally changing the chemistry of your body, right? So those feelings may have been generated in the mind, but as soon as they are created, they seep into the body. It's all energy, and the prime function of the breath is to move that energy, to pull it in and clear it out, right? So we're truly feeling and emotion producing machines, but those feelings and emotions don't just evaporate at will, right? And depending on which part of the nervous system is active at that time, those feelings will either get processed, cleared out, and we can move on from them, or our body will continue to hold on to that energy because it believes there's some type of threat. So it's staying in that fight or flight state. And our breathing patterns are really the key to regulating our nervous system. So each breath we take sends signals to our system to either activate the fight or flight, the sympathetic, or the rest and the digest, the parasympathetic. And when our breathing pattern is shallow and rapid, our body is going to lock in that energy, because the way we're breathing is telling our body that there's a threat, right? It's breathing in a very active way. And it needs that energy to get through that stressful situation. And then when we breathe deeply and slow, our body will be able to process and release that energy, because the threat is gone. It can feel that there's no threat. And our sympathetic nervous system, our fight and flight, it serves us, right? It allows us to escape danger, to get through a stressful situation. It's what it allows us to pump blood through our body, faster. But when we get through that stressful situation, we don't want to carry that with us.
Or like
right?
stay in that. Like it sounds like you could get like basically locked into it.
Exactly, right? Like when whatever the stress from your day, from your work, from the sport you just played, whatever is done, and you're back home spending time with your family, you don't want that fight or flight to be active, right? You want to be able to come back to your state of equilibrium. You want to be able to enter that state and rest and digest. Like, there's a time for being ahead and a time for being behind. There's a time for being active and there's a time for resting. We need that. Our body needs it. So we want to use it, let it serve its purpose, and then let it be released. The problem is it's not a psychological process. We can't just think that fear out. We can't just think anxiety away. We have to undergo a physical process to facilitate that release. So we can choose to forgive someone for something they've done, or to choose to let go of resentment towards someone or something from our past, but our body will continue to store that memory, that trauma, and those traumatic triggers until we undergo a physical process for it to be released. It's actually been observed in nature that prey animals like deer or gazelle, if they're chased by a predator and they get away, the first thing that they do when they're back to safety is they shake violently. That's because they too have this fight or flight gift where they can really pump energy through their body to run faster for longer, giving them the best chance to survive. But it's also been ingrained in that animal that it knows it can't lock in that energy, right? It needs to be released, so they shake violently. In humans, we have similar mechanisms, right? When you get that urge to cry when you're stressed out or sad, or you get that urge to scream when you're stressed out, this is your body's mechanism for releasing energy, right? And really, you don't want to hold on to it, right? Because just like how you wouldn't hold back a cough or a sneeze unless you're right in front of someone, but normally you want to let that sneeze go, because that's your body's mechanism for releasing that pathogen or that virus that's causing you harm. A cry or a scream is just a similar mechanism for releasing stored energy that's causing your body harm. Unfortunately, in our society, though, we're taught not to show emotion, especially men. Men don't cry, don't show fear, which there's obviously times to be tough to get through things, but we have to give our body that opportunity regularly to release whatever emotions build up. Otherwise, we'll just continue to suppress that energy. And then that's when we become depressed, we start to repress, so taking the time to really, bring awareness into our breath, especially after a stressful situation, because again, when you breathe slowly and deeply, oxygen is able to cycle all the way through. But when you're breathing rapid and shallow, it's just breathing here, right? So this is getting locked in. This is processing completely. So it's pretty, again, it's a mechanism for releasing that energy. Now with that being said, when we're dealing with traumas and energy that our bodies have been storing for years or even decades, it requires a much deeper mechanism than just slow and deep breathing to allow that energy to be released.
Like the slow and deep breathing would be more like the maintenance, where what you're talking about is to like really do the excavation.
Absolutely. In the present moment, anytime you feel stressed, anxious about anything, the best thing that you can do for your body and to bring your nervous system out of that fight and flight, is to take slow and deep breaths in and out through the nose. The number one thing, it's been researched now because they're starting to fortunately do a lot of research on mental health and how the breath impacts it. Just 2 to 3 minutes of slow and deep breathing can really bring the nervous system out of a deep fight and flight response. So, and this is what empowers us, right? We're taking something that we thought was unconscious. Oh, I'm just stressed, right? My job is causing stress.
I always
My
get
family is causing stress.
angry.
I always get angry. It's just everything around me is causing me to be angry. And flipping that and saying, okay, these things are generating this emotion from within myself, but I have this mechanism of my breath that I can pull myself out of that, and I can choose to do so at any time. Now, obviously, it's not an end all be all, but it has a huge impact, right? A huge impact. So I always just encourage people, the next time you're stressed or anxious, first notice how you're breathing. Are you breathing in and out through the mouth? Are you breathing just into the chest and shoulders, or are you breathing in and out through the nose and in deep belly breaths? Because chances are, if you're stressed out, you're going to be breathing in and out through the mouth and just into the chest and shoulders. And that's when you want to, step 2, shift that into the slow, deep nostril breathing. So as far as the transformational breath work, I like to think of this breath work like plunging your toilet, when it gets clogged, right? When we get so much of this muck from our past stuck within ourselves that we can't even, function without getting angry or stressed, and we just can't seem to let it go. This breath work provides the necessary level of force to really flush those things out, right? And without flushing it out, our conscious mind will just sit here and continue to process things that happened to us even a decade ago, right? We're still actively creating perceptions about things, generating feelings about situations, and putting labels on those situations, trying to justify, why did this happen to me? This was good, this was bad, right? It's a full-time job of the mind, right? So when not released, again, it can be a full-time job. And there's, been countless times where my mind is thinking about something, from even years ago, and it just keeps replaying it in my mind over and over and over again, to the point where you're sitting here, just let it go, man, like, just let it go. But
It's
again, we can't,
over.
yeah, just let it go. But we can't just will that, psychologically, mentally, and this breath work is what allows the mind to finally release its grip on those things, whatever they are, which then frees up time and space to think about what we really want for ourselves, not just keep replaying our traumas from our past. The other layer of why this breath work is so powerful, and we were talking about this earlier, is it's such a profound internalization process, right? You're shifting your awareness into your body for such through such a profound experience, and to do it for 45 minutes can be the longest stretch that a lot of us have focused on our body, right? So that alone can really have a big impact. And that's when we just start to become aware of things, right? When we focus on ourselves, we start to uncover and realize what the things that are within us really are, right? Is this a feeling that was generated really from within me? Do I really believe this? Or was this projected upon me over and over, so I took it upon myself, but really I don't feel that, right? This breathwork gives us the ability to, over time in multiple sessions, to be gifted with that awareness. Again, we're turning what was once unconscious and making it conscious. And that's really where the real work begins, right? Once we've completed the breathwork journey, because then all of our self-views, our self-limiting beliefs, it all lays it out right on the table in front of us, right? And we can sit with them and just feel it, and if we step into the practice with that intention, it can really gift us with that awareness, which we can then do whatever we want with, right? But having that awareness is always the first step.
So
sure.
Beautiful. And wow, I feel like you're an amazing teacher, which you knew that before me saying that, but you just pull some imagery, and just really, I think it's a way that hopefully our listeners are feeling right now, where it's super accessible and maybe they're understanding some of these concepts in a different way that they've heard before. Thank you, Chad. And I'm wondering for you, I know we're coming to a close here shortly, but you're in your own evolution with your business. And so if you could talk like maybe how your own experience of the breath work has unlocked deeper and greater creativity. And I'm not going to stack questions because I've done that enough today. So we'll pause there.
No worries. No worries. Yes. So I operate a yoga studio and wellness center called Soul Space Yoga and Wellness. Right now we are, located downtown West Palm Beach. We will be relocating to Northwood, which is maybe 5 minutes north of downtown, if that. And I'm sorry, you did lose me. What was the second question?
Just how transformational breath has unlocked your own creativity in business and like the evolution that you're going through with your business.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's certainly, I had a yoga studio essentially gifted to me, right? And I had I had experience working in management and construction, but I don't know how to run a business. I don't know how to do, all the things that you have to do. And even with an incredible support system, you start to feel the weight and burden of all these responsibilities. Again, your mind creating all of these images about, oh, this is bad, they thought this, whatever it is. And I certainly fell into that, right? And over the last year or so have experienced, my fair share of, anxiety, stress, depression. And I think it was definitely divine timing that through that I came across this transformational breathwork practice, because it really, it's so hard to explain because it's so experiential. But again, it just gives you awareness, right? It shows you, I think how incredible a life that I already have. And even if my business fails, just the fact that I get to exist in this moment right now with incredible people like you, like that's like having awarenesses like that, right? Like that's the true power, because then you can go through anything when you're rooted in that gratitude and in that understanding of just how precious and incredible life already is. And we don't have to do anything. And it's already this amazing, beautiful gift. We can do anything and not have to experience, anxiety and fear and doubt. And that's certainly what the practice has done for me.
Oh, so beautiful. So where can people find you and what can they expect, both virtually or digitally, and then in person?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find me at Soul Space. Obviously, right now we're located right off of Okeechobee and Quadrille. If you're familiar with the downtown area, we have a regular schedule of yoga classes every day, and then I do have the transformational breath work that I do about once a month right now. I'll probably be doing it more once we're in the new space. And our next session, I don't know when this will air, but our next session is next weekend, the 15th at 3 p.m.
Okay.
And you can find that information on our website, which if you just Google Soul Space, our website will come up. My personal Instagram is Chaturanga Wellness. I'll spell it because it's kind of silly. If you're not a yogi, Chaturanga with a T is basically like the yoga posture. That's a push-up. And I had a buddy of mine that's not a yogi took my first class, and he heard me say Chaturanga in the class. He's like, "That's you, bro!" And I'm like, "Oh my God, you're right." So it's CHAD is in dog, URAN is in Nancy, GA Wellness. And then my email is just chaturangawellness@gmail. But again, if you just Google Soul Space, that my cell phone is what's on our website. And on Google and stuff. So you can always text or call me. And I do private breathwork sessions. And then again, right now I'm doing them once a month. But hopefully we'll be doing them more once we're in our new location.
Yay. Awesome, Chad. Thank you so much. And listeners, thank you so much for being here. As always, take a moment to reach out to Chad, let him know what was particularly resonant, and we will see you on the next episode of the Lila Life Show. Thank you again, Chad.
Thank you so much. So grateful for you.